This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so let's look at this book. And in terms of making something, on this book, what's involved in me making this book? What are my raw materials?
Trees.
Trees.
Paper.
Got some paper in here.
Ink.
Got some ink in here. And the cover. And so I have to make this. So this is what I'm telling you. Nobody gave me any of these pages or anything. I have to go, write it up, type it up, and get it in a format. And so the first cost are these raw materials, the paper and the ink. There's some glue to put it together, but that's a supplies. Okay, so minimum cost that spread over thing, go in the supplies category. Then I have to hire some workers to make this book. That's the direct labor. Okay, and then after all of that, the paper and the ink and the labor, paying the workers to put it together, I have all of those other costs. My computer and the depreciation on it, my space I utilize in my house, my rental, so my rents, that I charge myself, my utilities, my taxes, my everything. I have all of those costs also that I have to be concerned with in terms of appropriately pricing this product. And so what we're concerned with making sure that we have every cost that we're going to be involved with. Because to make money on a product, you got to have all your raw materials costs, you got to have all your direct labor costs. Then everything else is not a direct cost, goes into manufacturing overhead, depreciation on my computer, utilities, taxes, insurance, rents, indirect labor, supplies. When you make something, all of these costs must be accounted for in coming up with a unit cost. And then your selling price is going to be a multiple of your costs. So let's look at a simple problem. It says a product will be priced at 3 times the unit cost. So we got a selling price multiple of 3. We expect to make 100,000 units. The raw materials consist of 2 units at $15 each. The direct labor is 3 hours at $10 each. And then all of these costs here are 600,000. So what is going to be the unit cost of the item I'm making, given this information? What's going to be the unit cost? So the direct materials, 2 unit cost is 15. So the direct materials were 30. The direct labor was 3. The unit rate was 10. So the direct labor was 30. Those 2 costs are very easy to come up with. They're direct costs. But now I've got to come up with the 600,000 and get that on a unit basis, because everything has to be on a unit basis. So I say it's $6, and we'll see how we got that. Total cost 66. So the selling price multiple 3 makes my selling price 198. So direct labor, direct materials, and direct labor easy to do. I said I'm going to equate the 600,000 to $6 per item since I am making 100,000 units. And so we come up with the $66 and then the selling price multiple, so your selling price. So we're going to do this for a week, to make sure that you can do it. Now let's look at this manufacturing overhead for a second and see how we got $6. All manufacturing costs other than direct labor, direct materials and direct labor are manufacturing overhead, but that does not include selling and administrative expense. It's manufacturing costs. What we're going to find with manufacturing costs is that I have to have this book ready to be sold by September. That's not early. But a lot of my costs would be incurred until the end of the year. So I actually have to estimate what the overhead costs going to be because my property taxes don't come in until the end of the year. I'm still paying utilities and all of that, but I still have to have all of those costs involved. Once in this problem, we said that the total cost was 600,000. So when everything was put together, for all the other costs other than labor and raw materials, it was 600,000. And I was going to make 100,000. I was going to make 100,000. It takes me 3 hours to make it. It takes me 3 hours to make it. So if I'm making 100,000 and it takes me 3 hours to make it, I'm gonna end up spending 300,000 labor hours to make the products. I'm making 100,000. It takes 3 hours each, so it's 300,000. So my predetermined overhead rate based on labor hours is 2. Simply line 1 divided by line 4. That gives me a predetermined overhead rate of $2. Because I'm gonna, as I make journal entries, and I make the product, I've got to make it based on a multiple of something, and it's not going to be the quantity, but it's going to be the labor hours. Since it takes 3 hours to make one item, and the overhead rate per hour is $2, my total overhead cost is going to be $6. So I go from 600,000 to $6. My predetermined overhead rate is $2. I got 3 hours I'm using, so that gets you 6. I can check it right quick. If I'm making $600,000, if I got $600,000 in costs, and I'm making 100, then 600,000 divided by 100 is 6. But because we got journal entries to make, you can't just jump and say it's 6. And then we make multiple products. So you can't, so if I'm making 100,000 of this, 50,000 of this, 30,000 of this one, and the $600,000 cost, then how we're going to allocate it then? And so this is, something that you want to keep track of and have a copy of it with you as we work through this material. So going back now to calculation of the unit product cost, direct materials 2 at 15.30, direct labor 3 at 10.30. Manufacturing overhead, I bring down these same 3 hours. The predetermined overhead rate we calculated was 2. 3 times 2 equals 6. And so my total cost is 66. And my selling price is $198. Any questions? Any comments?
So basically, for our product, you want us to do like journal entries of the stuff that we have to purchase or stuff that we have to buy to make our product.
Well, with your product, what you're going to have to do, you won't have to worry about the journal entries per se. We'll be doing something else. The journal entries are actually after the fact. And remember, we work with managerial accounting. And so one of the big things that you're going to be doing is coming up with this cost. Then times the sales, 3 gives you a selling price of $198. So that's what you're going to be working with. And we will be moving in a different direction because, like I say, the manufacturer, the cost that you're talking about eventually down the road is after the fact. That's what we do in financial accounting. But what you're going to be telling me is how many units must I sell to lose 100,000? Then you're going to be telling me how many units must I sell to break even? Then you're going to tell me how many units must I sell to make $1 million, and how many units must I sell to make 2 million. So we're going to be in a planning mode. This is after the fact, but with your product, we're going to be in a planning mode in terms of how many units you have to make to break even, make $1 million. So that focus is going to be different. We need this background, but the focus is going to be planning when we get to that. Okay. Let's look at this problem, in-class problem of coming up with the selling price. So we're trying to come up with three things: the unit cost, selling price, and the predetermined overhead rate. So that's all we're doing. That's what you'll be turning homework in on. That's what you'll have a quiz on. Coming up with the estimated unit cost, selling price, and predetermined overhead rate. It's kind of like making journal entries. If this is wrong, you're going to have problems down the road. So I spend time on it. Yes?
What page in the book is this?
Let's see. Looking at the new book that you need. Let me see what page of the new book are we on. So in the new book, we're on page 276. So we're on page 276. Okay, so.
What, the old one?
Say what?
The old primer. What about that? What page is that?
It's not in that one. That's why I rewrote it. Because I add things to it. As I'm teaching, I always update it.
Right.
So each team needs a new primer. Okay, you get together and get one new one at least. So even if you got old ones, and we have new members who don't have a primer. So each team's got to have a new primer. Got it? Not that much money. And I don't get paid anything. I just work on it. So I have to work all spring and all summer to get this ready. Okay, so kind of looking at my book, let's assume that in situation 1, the ink was 2 at 15. So I needed 2 ink cartridges that cost $15, and I needed 1 ream of paper that cost $10. My direct labor rate was $50 per hour. So I paid the workers well. They could make 10 books per hour. My manufacturing overhead was 50,000. My selling price multiple was 3, and I was making 10,000. Okay, so that's the assumption in situation 1. For that situation, I want you to come up with the estimated unit cost, estimated selling price, and the predetermined overhead rate. So begin work and let's see how you will come on this. I'll give you a couple of minutes to see how you will come on this in this first situation. Have anything calculated yet? Well, how much is the ink cost going to be? How much will the ink cost?
30.
I would get thought 30. How many ink cartridges is it?
2.
What's the unit cost per ink cartridge?
15.
So that cost is 30. What about for the paper?
20.
We got 1 ream of paper at $10 each.
I read it wrong. I'm sorry.
1, 10. So this is 10. So when we add these together, our total raw material cost is 40. Any questions? Any question on that?
No.
All right. Let's see if we can do some labor. I pay my workers $50 an hour. They can make 10 books in an hour. So what's my labor cost per book? The rate is what, $50 an hour, correct? They make 10 books in an hour.
So $5.
$5. So know what it says. If line 1, multiply line 1 times line 2, if it takes 1 or more hours to produce a unit, or you divide if more than 1 unit can be produced in an hour. So you're always going to have to make this decision. Is it taking more than an hour to make the book? Multiply. If I can make more than 1 book in an hour, divide. So I got 2 of the costs down. Raw materials.
Where'd you get productivity from?
Direct labor production.
Okay.
Now let's see if we can work with this overhead. And this overhead was what, $50,000? So the total overhead was what? 50,000. Okay. What quantity were we making? 10,000. Okay, the labor productivity rate, when we look here, I can make 10 books per hour. And so my productivity rate is something like 1/10, because I can make 10 books per hour. If it took me 2 hours to make a book, it was 2. I can make 10 books per hour. And so all we can say that productivity rate is 10. That's another way to look at it. But how many hours is it going to take to make the books? And it says multiply line 2 times line 3 if it takes one or more hours, or divide if it takes more than 1 unit. So we would divide 10 into 10,000, and it's going to take us 1,000 hours to make these books. Just put a $sign here. So you can take 1/10, or you can just take the 10 and divide it into that. But if we can make 10 an hour and we got 10,000 to make, our workers will only work an hour. What is our POR going to be? It says take line 1 divided by line 4. So what's our POR going to be?
50.
50, yeah, that's a good number. Okay. Okay, so this is what we'll use eventually when we make a journal entry. Now we need to get to the unit manufacturing overhead cost. So we know the POR is 50, and we say we multiply it by the productivity rate. If it takes 1 or more hours to produce, or we divide it by the productivity rate if more than 1 unit can be produced in an hour. So we're going to have to divide this by this 10, take 1/10. And so our unit manufacturing overhead cost is going to be here, $5. So to get our total manufacturing cost, it's going to be 40 for raw materials, 5 for labor, and 5 for our manufacturing overhead. So that total cost is going to be how much?
50.
40 plus 5 plus 5 gives us 50. Don't let me write in here. Okay, so now we can come back up here. Remember that the POR was 52. So our estimated unit cost, 50, and our POR in this case was also 50. And what's our selling price going to be? How much might we sell our product for?
Would it be 150 since you have to multiply the unit cost by 3?
That's what we would do. That's what it would be.
Okay, and I have a question. The 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 going across the page in those different columns. So does that number 1 mean this will be our unit cost to make one item?
No, these are the alternatives. These are different alternatives.
Or like different ones you can make the same amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
So your job now is to fill this out for the rest of the alternatives. Okay, I did the first one for you. Okay, so situation 2, what is that looking like?
It's the same 40?
I keep it at 40 each time. Let me just see. Yeah, we kept these the same each time. That's right. So when we get ready for the raw materials, it stays at what, 40? And the labor is going to stay at 10. Okay, so in this problem, they all stayed the same. Now, wait a minute, let me see on the labor. 25, but they're making 5 books per hour. So what's our labor rate going to be in this one? Paying them 25. They're making 5 books per hour. So it stays at 5. So the labor rate change. Okay. What about the overhead? We're still making 10,000, but the overhead now is what? 150,000. I'm just going to use the 5 here. Labor productivity rate is 5. So we can only make, if we're making 5 an hour and we got 10,000 to make, how many hours are going to take to make them? How many hours might it take us to make? If we can make 5 things an hour and we got to make 10,000, how many hours might it take to make them?
2,000.
2,000 sounds good to me. You simply divide 5 into the quantity you're going to make. So then the POR, line 1 divided by 4, my lines change, but line 1 divided by line 4. And so what's our POR going to be in this case?
75.
75. We just simply divide 2,000 and 150,000. And then our unit manufacturing cost for overhead is going to be what? We're going to take the POR and we're going to divide by 5. So what's 75 divided by 5?
15. Oh, hold up.
15 something. So we have 45 and 15. So what's our total cost going to be now? 60. So we'll come back up here. 60. And this was 75, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And what's this number going to be?
$180.
Selling price
Oh,
multiples.
what was it?
So that's going to make it what?
120.
120.
Can you go over how do we get line number 3 under for total unit labor costs? Like, how do we get the total unit labor costs again?
Okay. On this chart here,
Yeah, do we have to put anything in number 3, or like, how do we get to number 5?
yeah, my numbers changed.
No, the one above that, the section above that.
Oh, here?
Yeah, what do we put in the one that actually says number 3? What do we put there?
I think the same thing would go there. If you have more than one labor involved, so the same thing would go there.
Oh, so it'll be 5?
Yeah.
And how do we know if more than one can be produced in an hour?
Okay. And these are good points. These are your assumptions. On your direct material, your ink and paper. Then you have your direct labor rate. Then you have your direct labor production, each case.
Mm-hmm.
And then estimated overhead, selling price multiple, estimated quantity. So you're always given all of these.
Okay, I see now.
But now that you see that, go ahead and work number 3.
Do I get extra credit for doing it?
Go ahead and work number 3.
All right.
Do we have that one working yet?
Oh my God.
We tried to make that one easy. So don't make it hard. It's supposed to be easy. Okay, let's see if we can work the easy one out. Our ink and paper are the same thing, correct?
Right.
40. So for the ink and paper, same thing. We didn't change it. Now, let's look at our labor rate. We can make 1 book per hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
The regular labor rate is 10, so how much we paying the workers per hour?
$10.
$10. So labor rate 10. They can make 1 book an hour.
$10.
And it'll be 10 down here also. Okay, what about down here? What was our total overhead?
250,000.
So we're gonna make this 250. Quantity was still $10. Our labor productivity here is what?
1.
1. And so how many hours is it gonna take us to make
10,000.
10,000 hours? And so our POR is gonna be what?
$25.
5. Coming now. And our unit manufacturing cost is gonna be what?
$1.
You were going so well.
You said it's whatever's on line 3, right?
Unit manufacturing overhead cost is the
Oh,
POR
it's 25.
by the productivity rate.
25. That's what I meant to say.
Oh, is that what you meant to say?
Yeah.
So you just multiply by 1, 25.
So that means
So they're the same. So that we have 40, 10, and 25 is going to be how much? So our total manufacturing cost going to be
75.
Yeah, 40, 10, that's 50, and then 25 gives us $75 here.
Okay.
POR
Don't forget
25.
the credit. I did the whole problem.
So our unit cost is what? 75. And our POR was what? 25. And what's our selling price going to be in this case?
225.
25. Okay, in the primer, either one, there should be an exercise 10.5 and an exercise 10.6. Teams 1, 2, and 3, you're responsible for exercise 10.5. Teams 4 through 6, you're responsible for exercise 10-6. So that's homework that you'll be turning in next time, and you should have an attendance quiz on this next time also. So
A
you
what
see
quiz?
attendance, you know.
Oh.
Can I ask
I
a question?
sure.
How do you get estimated selling price again?
We have a selling price multiple.
Mm-hmm.
Multiply that by the estimated unit cost.
Oh,
Good question.
okay.
Selling price multiple,
Oh,
which is
okay. I see now.
we multiply it by the unit cost, which is what manufacturers do. They estimate the cost. They got a multiple that they're using to get the selling price. But if their selling price is too low, they won't cover all the costs. If it's too high, they'll lose out to the competition.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so teams, you all will be presenting next time. Your points come from both your presentation as well as what you submit. I need all the names of the team members who worked on the submission. So I only want one per team. I only want one submission per team. I'm gonna start taking points if I get more than one. So I want one submission per team.
What page to exercise on?
In the new book is 309 and 310. Oh,
So what if we don't have the new book?
go get it. 30. Wait a minute.
Professor Boyd,
308 and 39 in the new. Let me check and see if it's yes.
could you check your email, please? This is Kiara Ghostin. You have not checked it in like a week or something.
How you know I hadn't checked in a week or something?
Because you haven't replied to me from last week.
Well, I will tell you that I get about 100 emails from students a day, maybe not, about 50 a day. And I'm teaching the classes, I'm grading them all and keeping up with that. And so then I have office hours. And so it's best to come in the office hours, but you know, I'll look at them, but that's why the office hours are here. And so you got to work with the office hours too. Let me just see.
Alrighty.
Are you talking about page 347 in the old book?
No. Let me just see if I can see in the old book. Try page 212 and 213. You see it's many more pages in the new book. Try page 212 and 213.
In the old book?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, looks like we're going to be doing our problem in office hours tomorrow. Is that it for today?
Now you got to finish up.
Oh, we're not done?
You got 2 more cases.
I was
You
seeing
got
people
4 and 5.
leave.
Do 4. We'll be finished when y'all do 4.
So many people.
A lot of work, Miss Ghost, and you look like you're on Team 5. Have you been working with Team 5?
Up until Thursday, yeah, but that's what I was emailing you about. I missed your class due to a doctor's appointment, and right now I have a sprained shoulder, so I kind of been like handicapped. So I've been working with one hand to do all of my stuff, for all of my classes. But whatever we have, I mean, as far as today, we didn't understand that we had to make the product. Like none of us understood that. So, but we're gonna be turning something else in. We have a new product in mind already.
But then you just hear some ones that they're going to be in office hours tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, I can come to office hours tomorrow, but we're talking about prior. We talked about it before today. Tomorrow, not gonna change what happened before today.
Well, we'll look at it and we'll talk about it.
All right, let's get started.
Oh, somebody's ready to get started.
Ready to go. So you gotta finish it up before we can go. It's raining so hard. Hold on.
Uh,
Professor,
yes.
I have a question about the new book.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to go put the ISBN number in on Cengage, I could not find it, and I don't know how to get it.
I had the contact information in there in terms of Cengage, in the syllabus. So I had that contact information in the syllabus with contact people. Does anybody have the new book?
I have the book on Cengage too, but it was hard for me to find it as well. I just don't remember how I ended up getting it. So I could tell her I can't remember how I did it, but it was, you don't just type in the ISBN, it doesn't work to get the book.
Okay.
I think I went through Google or something like that. I didn't go through Cengage Unlimited. I think I went through Google and typed in his book, and then it gave me a link through Cengage or something like that.
Okay.
All right, I'm back.
You back.
All right, so number 4, we have the same number for the ink and the material, or paper, whatever.
$50.
40.
What's the total overhead?
Oh, man, go back there. 10.
What's total overhead? 400,000?
20.
Total overhead. Don't we have 400,000 here?
400,000.
What's our quantity to be produced? How many are we making? Is it still 10,000?
10,000.
Okay. What's our labor productivity rate here?
I think it was 2.
So it's taking 2 hours to make it.
Yeah.
So what's our total hours going to be? Maybe 20,000. You're making me do all the work, pound.
40.
If you got 10,000 to make and it's going to be 2 hours per book, how many hours?
5.
You got to make. You've got 10,000 books to make. Well, let's do it this way. You got to make 10 books. It makes 2 hours per book. How many hours is it going to take?
5,000.
Let's go to 10 books. If it takes 2 hours per book, how many hours is it going to take?
5,000.
Oh, goodness. If you had to make 10 books and it took you 2 hours per book, how many hours would it take you to make those 10 books?
20. Hold up. 10 hours. There's 10 books. And it took you 2 hours to make each book or 10 books?
Yeah, it takes 2 hours per book and it's 10 books.
So 20 hours.
Yes, 20 hours. So if it's 10,000, it's going to be 20,000. So this is 20,000. We divide 20,000 into 400,000. How much do we get? Y'all calculators working on that?
20.
Is that 20?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. And what's our unit overhead, manufacturing overhead cost going to be?
40.
Who said 40?
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, that's
Yeah.
not what
Shekinah.
Okay, sounds good. So as we bring those costs, so the total cost would be 40. Now we gotta get this labor cost in here. Takes 2 hours per book. So the labor in this case is 20. So 40 plus 20 is 60. Plus 40. Would that be 100?
Yes.
Is that what you had, 100? You had 100, right?
Yes, 100.
Wait a minute. So our unit cost is 100. Selling price multiple was what, 2? 200. And therefore, and the POR was how much?
25.
Okay. 20?
20.
20.
So this is your introduction to manufacturing accounting. And that introduction starts with coming up with the unit cost of an item and its selling price. Everything else follows this, just like, so your journal entries are based on this information and everything. And so you've got to get this chart correct for your product before you can move forward. So we'll go over those exercises on this. Have a quiz on it next week to see how y'all coming. So we'll go over the exercises, have a quiz, and if y'all ready, then the following week we'll be ready to move on to the journal entries that we have to make. We go back, we go back to the cycle here and we're making journal entries. But they're now, we're layering manufacturing journal entries on top of financial accounting. So that's where we would be.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions by anybody in terms of where we
I have
go?
a question, but it's about the grades. It's not about this.
Send me an email eventually about that.
Well, it's not about my grade. It's because you said the total is equal to 112, but
Did it equal 112?
It equals 112 if you add both of the continuing assignment and new assignment that we had to do. So we only should have got credit for one instead of not getting a 0 for the other one.
No, okay.
So we all have like 10 more points than you put on there out of 112.
Not necessarily.
Right. But you know what I mean.
Not necessarily. So, Joanna, what I would do would be I'll just multiply it out based on that. So I would, I'll just move the grade up as not 10 points each, but a percentage. So I'll just do something like, I'll just need to add a percentage to everybody's grades. But 100 should be enough anyway, right? That's 100 points enough for you to, but we need to go. Okay, where's this lady who said she needed to see me? She's still here?
Well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Where's Ghost today? She says she's
3
always
o'clock, right, Professor?
3 o'clock. Where this lady? So I was gonna talk to this lady Ghosted now, but she's gone. Then talk to me about reading emails.
3 o'clock, right?
I will make those adjustments for your grades and everything. So when I do the following ones, I will adjust for that. But hopefully, many people as possible join us for office hours so we can look at this and get this point down.
Okay.
So everybody, try to stay dry, and we'll see you all in office hours on tomorrow at 3.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Good
right.
evening, everyone.
Have a nice
Yes,
evening.
sir.
You all do the same.
Bye-bye.